Hi everyone, I'm Ashley,
I'm Marshall.
And I'm Sarah.
and this is Group 4 for Unit 2. All right, so the article that I chose to discuss is the 2019 Higher Education Horizon Report. I picked this article really because I wanted to compare the technology standards and methods to my own experiences in undergrad. Um, this article connects to the ISTE standards because it's based on educational research, emerging trends, and regarding technology that could improve teachers' teaching strategies by suggesting there should be more input by faculty when new technology products arise in the institution, and with the end goal being learning experiences of students are enhanced and student achievement increases, because that's the goal of like all of the articles, doing an achievement gap. Moving on. Some things I liked about the article is the mobile learning. That's education or training accessible with your smartphone or tablets. This is a real interesting part in the article for me because I liked how the teachers had took back the narrative of your mobile phone being a distraction, and they made it into a learning tool. So I really did like that. Another thing I liked about the article is talked about mixed reality technology, and they used virtual reality and augmented reality. I don't know if I'm saying that right. These these technology tools, these technology tools make experiences more fulfilling in various ways for students. Like with virtual reality, you can go to places that is almost inaccessible, especially due to COVID. And with augmented reality devices or tools, I should say, it gave a real interesting example. Like nursing students can use augmented reality devices to perform or practice surgery before they actually do the real thing. So I thought that was real cool. And I know I used to play like simulation games and everything. It has a real big impact on education, I'll say. One last point that I liked, the rethinking practice of teaching. It touched on rethinking the practice of teaching because, I think educators, especially in higher education settings, they get stuck in their ways. They think because we're in college or grad school that they don't have to do as much, I'll say. And so they just kind of recycle things. So what the Horizon Report, they stated that the teaching practices in higher education are evolving as student-centered approaches to instruction play a growing role in course design. Like, for example, I had a professor that would let us design every other exam for class versus other professors who would just copy the syllabus and put the PowerPoint on and we just take notes and we'll have an exam. So I thought that was like a real nice point. What y'all think?
I actually like that because it gives the students an opportunity to like make their own exam and like even have the professor like see what they find interesting and what they learned, and then like it's really different honestly because you don't hear about that all the time like with universities nowadays. Like you said, they just give you an exam that's like copied from last year or even you find online, and it's not really interesting for us learners and students to take, because even some of like the education majors like me in my undergrad, I would have loved to make my own exam because it gives us experience and knowledge to know how to make a test so that when we become teachers we already have knowledge firsthand on how to do it and we're not struggling and we're not trying to figure out how to make a test for our students.
Exactly. It was really fun too. It was like a real good experience to be a part of. Of course, there's always a dislike in the article. I don't like the constant repetition of information. I don't like that. It makes it really, really long and makes the reader not want to read anymore. But otherwise, it was like a real good. I really liked the article. I got what I wanted out of it, I'll say.
Okay, hi, my name is Marshall, and I read the 2017, the NMC Technology Outlook, the Chinese Schools. And the reason I read this article because I was really interested in how the Chinese intake, because you hear a lot about the technology, the push for because the Chinese culture is really based around a lot of technology. I mean, they also have their culture, their history, but they're always pushing for that newest thing. So I wanted to see what it would say about the Chinese and compare it to our own school systems. And in the Chinese culture, there's a lot of push for the newest and greatest technology. Um, it did talk about, some of the problems that could come up with trying to constantly keep up with the newest and greatest technology. But that's one of the things I didn't like about the article, because it was really vague about the problems that schools can face, and it really didn't give you any solutions as to what these schools can do to keep, when they come across these problems. So it didn't give me enough information when it came to what kind of problems that we should face. It did. The one thing I really liked about this article is it talked about flipped classrooms, and especially for your older students, your junior high and your high school students, I think flipped classrooms are just the wave of the future. And when it talks about flipped classrooms, it talks about they do the reading part. You don't do the lecture in class anymore. They do the reading and the background outside of class. And then the class time is basically for critical thinking, for outside the box thinking, problem solving. And that's what you use your classroom time for. So I think, especially for our older students, that is an amazing concept and something I think we can put more into our classrooms. Another thing it talked about, like you said, virtual reality. They're actually using virtual reality in their higher education classes. And I thought, oh my God, if we could do that, I mean, you're honestly, from what I was reading in the report, because it was 2017, they're way beyond what we are as far as it comes to technology in the classroom. So it's something to look forward to. They talked about artificial intelligence in the classroom, and they have a big push. The one thing I didn't agree upon is they have a really big push towards technology. And I mean, while yes, we definitely, to keep up with the rest of the world, we need to incorporate the newest technology in our classrooms. But when you do that, when you have such a large focus on technology, you're leaving the other things behind. You're leaving the reading and the writing, because you're pushing technology and learning this technology, which is what they do. Because they were talking about over 80% of their colleges now offer all these big high-tech education classes, and that over 80% of the new jobs being created in China are technology based. So, the reading, writing, arithmetic, I feel like from the article, these things technology is being pushed harder than our old standbys, like, I say old, but not really, reading, writing, and arithmetic. And then again, like I mentioned in our previous chapter, that parents of students with disabilities, they feel like they're lost with the new technology, that they're getting left behind with the classes. And that was another thing that this report talked about, that the online classes are, especially with higher education, everything is more and more going towards that way instead of the face-to-face schools. So they feel like they can reach more students. They have better, participation when students are coming from home. But again, I think you're going to have students with disabilities that are they feel like they're being left behind because they don't have that face-to-face. And then they talked about teaching complex thinking is considered like a touchy subject for them. And I couldn't understand why. Why would teaching complex thinking, multiple level thinking be such a touchy subject? Is that more towards their culture, or is that just, technology? Is that something to do with technology? And it really didn't go into detail. So as far as the ITSE standards, I think the excellent and professional practice standard, it kind of fell short of that. This report fell short of that because it didn't give me the information I really wanted regarding as far as, problem solving with those problems that come up with introducing new technology, and why is, this complex thinking teaching such a touchy subject. So that was my take on it. And you guys, what do you think?
I think
Oh, sorry, you can go.
I think so. I can't believe that the complex thinking is something that they're kind of shy about, especially when they're doing all of these big things. But it goes to show that just because you're doing so much technology, it can be kind of crippling.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. And the one thing that, they believe technology brings you together, which I can see that. Technology does bring you together, but it can also be a social inhibitor. It also can keep you apart. And that's not something they really talked about in this article, that the other side of that, technology, and that maybe you're losing some social skills when we rely so much on technology. The saying that because of new technology, conversation is becoming a lost art,
Exactly.
and they really didn't touch upon that subject.
Yeah. I personally feel like with technology, like technology is great to have in our world, but when it comes to like you said, socializing with people, we're losing that as kids like grow up, because now they're getting so used to either doing school online at home that they're not really interacting with their peers. So like if they were to ever go back, they would not know how to talk to kids their own age.
Exactly.
So I talked about the 2017 NMC Technology Outlook for the Nordic schools. And just like Marshall had commented, they are really pushing for technology in this article as well. However, they're implementing blended learning strategies. So it's basically saying like the students are on their laptops all day in the classroom with the help of the teacher guiding them, but they're mainly learning like their lessons through their laptops, which I thought was really interesting. And then another thing that I liked was that they're teaching coding as literacy. So they're actually teaching the kids how to code things on their computer, but also relating it to literacy. And I really thought that was interesting because we don't see that a lot here in America with coding wise. Like, when I think of coding, like I don't even know what coding is really. So like just the fact that they're teaching their students back in 2017, now we're in 2021, like that was 4 years ago. So imagine like what they're learning now, what they're capable of. Like I really think that that was a really good point in the article, teaching coding and blending learning. And then another thing that stood out to me was the rise of STEAM. So they had STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and math. And the STEAM aspect is just adding arts to it. And I really like that because I'm an artistic person. So I like involving science and art together, or science and math, or something that makes all of it just combine together and have a really good lesson. I really think that kids should involve like artistic crafts that involve science, like making balloon rockets or straw rockets or anything that will engage in their creativity is really good for them. So when I saw that in the article, I was really happy that they're integrating art into their learning and learning as well. And the last thing that I found really, really interesting was that they're expanding their digital exams back in 2017. So all of like their states or their countries, they decided that they were going to do like their government exams online and even school exams online. So now with COVID, we're so used to that, but back in 2017, they were already implementing that, which I thought that was really cool because, with the whole technology, like it's growing, it's evolving, just like our classrooms. I really think it was really interesting to read that they're, creating paperless exams for, students online. Like let's say you miss a day in school and there was an exam, you could take it online, whereas you don't have to wait the next day to take it in class on paper. So I thought that was really cool. The one thing that I didn't really like about this article was like Ashley or Marshall or both of y'all had stated that it was a little bit not it was a little bit repetitive. So like some of the stuff I read at the beginning, they went into more detail at the end, which there was nothing wrong with that. But I feel like once they already made their point at the beginning, which they should have just left it as that, whereas making it a longer and it kind of lost me towards the end because I kind of was getting a little bit overwhelmed with just like all the things that I already like learned and like read about in the article. But overall, I think that this article was really, really interesting and much better than the first one that I read, or the first couple of ones that I read. Out of the ISTE standards, I would rate it probably maybe around a 2 or a 3. I don't think it's quite perfect, but I don't think it was quite as low as the last ones that I rated because I do think that they do a really good job with the whole technology aspect and making the students like centered around their lessons and be hands-on with their lessons and really engaged with everything that they're learning.
I like what you said about how the Nordic are incorporating or cross incorporating art into their STEM, you know, because when I was reading about the Chinese, it was mostly pushing and pushing and pushing in technology, where you lose those other subjects like the fine arts and like the music, and how the Nordic, they not only are keeping those, they're incorporating them in with technology. I really like that.
Me too. When I saw it, it made my heart happy because art is, like I said, so I love art and I love teaching anything that can relate to art with other subjects as well.
Oh my gosh. And it's funny how you mentioned that they're trying to do that, well, that they were doing exams online. Supposedly they're supposed to be doing the STAR test. Like they're supposed to be making that online as well. So I'm like, oh, where was this when tax was around?
Exactly. It's going to make it so much easier given the STAR test online, because, well, one, it'll make it easier, and faster to grade and get faster to get back with the results, which is what the schools are waiting for. Because, I mean, funding depends on, your what your students make, which I think is, I'm not going to get on my soapbox, but I don't like that. But I think it also will make it, it'll save paper, environmentalist here, sorry. But it also make it a lot easier for students, but you I still worry about the students with disabilities, because I know that you have students that need to read. So it could save on that too, with earphones and, as speech to text. So it could actually help them in when it comes to that regards, if that's something they do incorporate into the STAR exam for students with disabilities.
Yeah, because I was in my undergrad last semester, so I got to work with the special needs kids for 10 weeks out of my 15 weeks that I was doing my internship. And I saw firsthand that the technology, because some of the students that I had, they were all online, so they never came to school, they were all remote. And just the problems that they were having, like sometimes they were not even turning in their work because they couldn't even complete it because they didn't understand it, they were having a hard time, or they had to wait on their parents to come and help them, and their parents worked all day. So I feel like with special needs kids, they need to come up with like better technology to help them learn just as much as like a normal, I'm not saying like normal, but like a normal IQ and higher keep students would. Sorry, I couldn't.
An average learner.
Yes, that's exactly what I was trying to say.
An average learner. Yeah, because students, I know students with disabilities, I mean, dyslexic, their IQs can be even higher. It's just, it's a learning disability. But you're right, because with a student with dyslexia, they have their brain doesn't work in the same patterns as ours does. So they see things differently and they learn ways differently. Whereas we can pick up these programs easily, they can't, and they need that face-to-face.
Right.
So that's the one thing, and that's what my graduate degree is in, is special education. And I really feel when I hear these parents talking about how much their students are being left behind because of all the online classes and everything that's going on.
Anybody have any final thoughts before we close?
I just think we did great.
I think so too. I think you guys are amazing and you did a wonderful job. And I think we made an A. Hit. Oh, nod, wink, wink.
Crawford.
Okay, well, thank y'all for watching our video, and we'll see y'all later. Bye.
Bye.